Welcome back. You're here with Speak 223, Comfort to Speak. We're going to talk about reasonable. And when I say reasonable, having a reasonable conversation, having a question and an answer come back in the form that makes sense, having an agreement made and that agreement is followed through, having talks and or plans and complete awareness of the plan that was made, that was written down or notes were taken, and watching another go against the plan without having communicated at all with you. You are aware and they are aware. So you and another, and this could go for multifacets. It could be people in business relationships, regular relationships, long-term relationships, marriage situations, situationships. What I'm speaking about is a general sense of reasonable. And examples of this are, we will meet at 8 a.m. The person decides to show up at 9 a.m. That is a complete and utter disrespect to you or any of the other colleagues in place at the time. For myself, I operate on time means being before on time. Go in the comments if you know all about that. Being on time means you get there 10 or 15 minutes before the scheduled time. So if you're telling someone, granted, things do happen in life. So if they have a valid, again, reasonable, do they have a valid reason that has complete validity to it as to why they would not reach out to you in a reasonable time? They would simply show up an hour later. This can also go for gatherings and celebrations. When someone sends you an RSVP, please let us know, will you attend? Some people respect schools and institutions more than family settings, friends they've known for a long time, colleagues. That RSVP is there for a reason. Again, reasonable. They need to know how many people are going to be fed at the gathering and the event. And some people will be reasonable and get a little more in case a few more people attend. But reasonable also can align with respect. And even whether or not you choose to respect someone doesn't mean that you shouldn't. When you're in business situations, colleagues, maybe you heard a bad rumor about that colleague and you felt like, oh, well, they don't deserve my respect because they were talking to the boss or but your reasonable side of it, you take accountability for you. Responsibility, your responsible part in it. So we're talking about reasonable. And then there is just outlandish, way beyond, overboard, far past the boundaries of when one chooses to be unreasonable. And let's also get into some of the unreasonable. Now, many of you, as I'm even beginning to talk about this, probably start having thoughts come to your mind, ruminate, lift right into your mind about how someone or something was unreasonable for you. But I'm going to talk about calling. Technology is technology. Yes, sometimes the call drops. Yes, sometimes there's a technical glitch. But again, let's be more reasonable. Let's have sense. Let's stop playing the amnesia card, playing stupidity. Oh, I didn't, you did know. So those of you out there listening to me, if this applies to you, take it and apply it to your life. This is a general message. Sometimes messages, they come in different formats. But if you have to take moments, it's important for life to be reasonable. And you cannot expect for you to be unreasonable amongst the person repeatedly. Again, I talk about repeated offenses. Someone will give you a chance, another chance after that. Just like when you're on the job and they bring you in and say, hey, we want to review how your work has been going. So many of these times you review, you go over what you feel is working, is not working, but reasonable. And it is not at all reasonable. It is extremely unreasonable to be in mid-conversation with someone, hang up, whether it's you, it's them, whoever on the other end. If you're not in the middle of an argument, disagreement, anything of that nature, you're having a regular conversation, the call goes out. Yes, people's phones also die. But it's so funny, also go in the comments, the same people whose phone is so-called dying when they're talking to you, you see them on it 24/7. And when I say 24/7, I mean 24/7. They don't let that phone die. They have a car charger, a charger in the wall, what's that one? It's like a wireless bank charger. You can charge wherever they're always charging their devices. They have multiple devices. They have 4 and 5 devices. Again, reasonable. So it is absurd when one thinks that you don't have any knowledge or understanding and you're supposed to listen to something that, again, is unreasonable and absurd. And that is exactly what it is. If you're speaking with someone, you're on a regular topic of conversation, then you're no longer talking and they go more than a day. A day is even unreasonable, but more than a day, to return to either the conversation you were having and or a face-to-face interaction, that is very unreasonable. And some of you out there, you have your boundaries. But if you're anything like me, you have boundaries, and then you have those that you allow to have exception after exception after exception after exception until you're just like, okay, this is far too many. This is way too many chances. And you level up with yourself and you know, I am not God. I try to walk in the likeness and the trying to all of the different fruits of the Spirit, kind, gentleness, patience. Of all of these, remember love, self-control. But that is playing immensely with emotions. And then that is also extremely unreasonable. For persons in your life that tell you, hey, don't have feelings, don't have emotions about this. But they have feelings and emotions about everything. Any little thing can set them off, can tick them off. Any little thing. Something as simple as, I can't even think of an example right now while I'm talking to you all. It'll probably come to me as I near the end of this video. But it could be pushing in the chair. The chair can be slightly out. Push that chair in. That chair is not pushed in. Okay? Is that reasonable? No, it's not. Because when you're in a workplace setting, schools, functions, gatherings, events, if someone had their chair out a little bit too much and you almost tripped on the chair, you wouldn't shout and yell, push in that chair. You would say, hey, excuse me, I just almost tripped on this chair. I almost fell. And I've seen it. I'm talking to all of you all about something I've seen. I've seen things be stated and said one way, and then in the public said an entirely different way. So we're talking about reasonable. Go in the comments, share some of your stories about when someone chose to be reasonable. Well, I'll say it this way. You knew that they could have a better option in a way to be reasonable and or respect you in the situation, but they were extremely unreasonable. And then go a little further as to how far were your boundaries set on that? And then were they just constantly, oh, I'm sorry. And you know that they're not. That is huge for me. Anyone listening to me, speak 223, comfort to speak. I don't want your empty apologies that are not real. When you're giving me an apology and you're not sincere about it and you're going to turn around 2 seconds later to do the same thing, I'm not interested. Especially if before you part from your lips, your sorry and your apology, and you already have the intention internal. You know that you're not really sorry about it and you want to do it again. So yes, go in those comments. Unreasonable. Unreasonable actions. Unreasonable acts that you won't tolerate, and or you knew someone else that this relates to and you're like, I don't know why they tolerated it. Speak 223, comfort to speak. Return until the next topic.